Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Squat Cobbler. I'm Kelly at Kelly. I don't know why I jerk my head back when I do that. I need to, but watching past videos, and there's like a Zuperta moment where I'm Kelly Oswald. Anyway, I'm Kelly at KELLYTHUL on Twitter and Instagram. Please subscribe, like, turn on notifications. And with me, as always,
I am Dr. Mike at Official Pagan on everything, and joining me is my beard. I just noticed, and I told Kelly today, I did not realize my beard was this long. That is halfway down my chest.
pretty easy top. Very good.
Yeah.
Oh, and buy a damn shirt. As long as we're at it.
Buy it. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, do all that stuff, then go buy a shirt.
Buy a damn shirt.
You know what you want.
That's right. The inventory continues to grow. The options, not the inventory, Chris, the other sound like hotcakes, but the options are growing quickly. So take a look. All right. We're back to talking retro gaming again. Kind of, sort of, I think, on this one. And At Games has, now this is in the wild now. This is something you can actually order. Is that correct, Mike?
Yeah, this exists. And this is what's weird about it was normally Arcade1Up is really good about promoting products. In fact, they're so good at it, they usually leak and are being promoted without their input well in advance, which almost all the time works in their favor, but not always, because that's how they lost the Neo Geo cabinet to another company because it leaked and SNK was not happy and ended up developing it in-house with another company they had worked with previously. But yeah, normally you hear about this stuff, and I believe there was a mention of this at some point, and then nothing, and now it's just available.
Yep.
Which I don't know if that bodes well.
Yeah, well, I think as we kind of talk about it too, it may make sense why we didn't hear a lot about it. But what we're talking about is there is basically a gaming projector setup for a given Mike and I's intensive meeting prep. We believe is $3.99. Will be corrected in the comments below if we're off. But
I believe that's correct. Yeah.
It consists of a riser and a control panel that sits on top of that. It comes with about 12 games and a projector, a 6,000 lumens projector, which we'll talk a little bit about in a second as well in terms of is that enough horsepower. So it's basically the whole setup. Hey, you want to play games on the big screen? We got the whole kit for you, and for a mere $400, you can have the stand. You got a controller thing. But what was your reaction as you kind of looked at the entire offering?
So I do vaguely remember them talking about something with a projector, and I think the reason it didn't get as much fanfare is they were really, really big on. So they kind of pitched this idea at E3, maybe not last year, but the year before, of these kind of party game setups that they really wanted to get into. But their big lead product with that was the giant joysticks. I don't know if you've seen these.
I've heard mention of them, but I've not seen them.
They're exactly what it sounds like. It's a giant joystick that you sit on the floor and it comes up to like waist level and you move the joystick. It plugs into the TV with an HDMI and they have like, say, 10 built-in games or whatever for each one. And I don't think the fanfare for this was what they hoped it would be. I remember lots of just negative instant feedback to these as soon as you saw them. Because I mean, it looks cool, I guess. Like it's interesting looking, but even watching them try to display it at their E3 thing, like they were struggling to just kind of move Pac-Man around the screen kind of thing. It is not functional in the way that it looks interesting, but it's not a functional kind of thing. So I think, they were really hoping to kind of take off in this party game kind of space. And this seems like a byproduct of that. Like we can give you a whole projector kit, and that sounds cool. And especially because I just recently started using the projector for gaming, mainly Doom, although I'm about to make the jump into Wolfenstein 3D to see how that looks on the projector. And I just got a 120-inch projector screen for during Prime Day sales. So I'm excited. I'm ready to dump a lot more into this whole projector gaming thing. So I got excited when I saw this. I was like, oh, this could be interesting, especially because the projector that I have is very portable. The specs on this, I don't know if they're good, but they're significantly less than the projector I have, the portable projector that I
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, well, that portable projector you have is a pretty happening thing. It's a really good quality one. Yeah, this, I mean, so for $400, you're getting 12-inch games, controller, a stand, and a projector. So collectively, um, none of those are going to be ultimately high end. I mean, when you look at the controller deck, it's a couple joysticks and a couple buttons, but pales in comparison to a fight stick or an At Games or a Legends Ultimate in terms of no trackball, all those types of things. I
Right.
think the games are a mix of both 4 and 8 position joystick games, which is always a little dicey in terms of quality of gameplay versus kind of a dedicated. These are all 4 position versus 8 position joystick games, but a decent variety of games. And the stand seems to be engineered well. I mean, the shelf that the projector would sit on has got a kind of a control on it, so you can adjust the pitch a little bit, which would be great. And so, the concept of party gaming and all that's good. Realistically, except when I'm now playing at my Legends, all my gaming's on a big screen. I'm using my projector. I've hooked all my systems up to that, and so I don't have a need. And what I did see was I had originally gone very inexpensive on my initial projector, and it lacked the lumens to really, you really had to have the room dark. Now, if you had the room completely dark, worked great, good picture and all that. But there's kind of a downside in a party setting, or just generally trying to get around if you have to have your room basically pitch black to operate because you can't see anything.
Right.
Whereas the newer one that I've got a lot more horsepower to it. The lumens in it enough. It certainly projects, but there's enough additional ambient light from the projector that you can see, you can get around a little bit. It doesn't have to be midnight outside for it to be good. Windows can be open, some light coming in. It's no big deal. And I think that's a big thing from a party standpoint, is you got to basically have something that's got the horsepower to project and still have enough room so people don't trip over each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something, so I'm newer to the projection gaming thing. Um, I liked my projector right off the bat. And even when I started kind of playing with it, Doom 64 is a game that I've just been playing a lot. That's a game that I saw in the reviews, a lot of people saying didn't run well on a projector. Because of it being sort of washed out and have to be just like a pitch black room. Now, I do notice a difference when I play Doom 64 versus some other games, because Doom 64 is a very dark game. So it does look better if it's darker, but I've played it in daytime and you can still see it and you can still play through the game. It doesn't look as good as when I play it in the dark, but it's a playable game. So that kind of is what initially had me thinking, like, maybe their projectors just kind of aren't up to speed on what they need to be. But as you were saying, like playing in the daytime, playing with daylight, when I play a more colorful game like a Castlevania, no problems at all. I played that with the windows open, broad daylight. You can see everything just fine. So that is definitely something. Looking at this, I think this is one of those things like the photo booth where, $400 seems high, or $300 for the photo booth seems high, but you're getting a large tablet, a photo printer, the casing and everything for it. So this is something where, like you said, these are probably not all high end items, but the combination, 400 seems like about the price point. But to me, if you were going to get really serious, like in the party game setting, I'm sure that's fine. And this is convenient. You got the joystick, you got the stand, you got the projector all in one package. So convenience, I can completely see it. If you were going to get serious about gaming, though, I would think you would need more horsepower in the projector. And I don't know enough about the stats to tell you what you would need. But just like with playing Doom 64, again, it looks better in the dark. But many, many reviews I read said you can't play it unless it's pitch black in the room. And that is not my experience with it.
Yeah, and I think even if so, I do think I don't think it's inappropriately priced when you add up. I get a stand, I get a control deck, I get licensed games, I get a projector. So I think you kind of roll all those up, and that's actually almost a bargain. But I think the quality of each is a little bit. How extensible is this game deck? Are you got the 12 games, and are you basically stuck there? And so you've got options out there to have a control deck from At Games, from a lot of other places as well. Atari Fight Stick, they are hugely extensible, and you can get a stand for them if you want, or build yourself a stand, and then having a projector that'll work kind of dependent on independent of how dark a game is, or where you can keep the room lighting to a reasonable level for folks. I think it depends how heavily you're going to use it to see. And I think the whole thing is set up more for group stuff. And so you just, I'm happy with my setup because I have my setup. This isn't really something that I'd go after. I do kind of like what they did with the deck, but I've got my projector mounted on the ceiling. So again, I'm using the stand for the deck. But I got my projector mounted on the ceiling, and I can adjust its pitch just fine. So it's just probably not going to be for me. If you wanted to do it, it's great. But I also think this one really screams to me to say, if you want to play gaming on a projector, you could get in, you could do it for $400, but maybe you should spend a little bit more, not a whole lot more, but spend a little bit more and get something you're going to be much happier with long term.
Yeah, I think this is something that is definitely the casual gaming, like party kind of atmosphere. This is not, if you're going to be serious or playing a lot, I don't think this is for you. I think if you want a standalone control deck at Games or Atari with the Fight Stick is the way to go.
Yeah, definitely.
And you're going to pay more ultimately because you're going to have to get a stand or build the stand. Those decks are better though. And then there are better projectors that you can get. So I think for $400, this is a deal. But if you're that serious about gaming, you're probably willing to put an extra couple $100 in and get a much better setup.
Yeah. Be something to think about. But it was cool, it's good to see another product out there. And it's definitely, I think there is, I'm not sure how big the demographic is, but there's some groups that this would probably hit on, and it is a deal. And if you can deal with some of the limitations of it, you're up and running with projecting games and playing it there, which is pretty cool. So it's kind of whatever. If you disagree with Mike and I on our assessment, yeah, you're wrong. But tell the world, show the world you're wrong by letting us know in the comments your opinion. Which we will.
And what's your brand of projector, just to give people
a brand of projector? You ask, Mike. It's a Fangor.
I suspected
7,500 lumens. So I've been actually quite happy with it. I am a little bit concerned on like the far right side. I'm getting just a very slight little bit of shadowing going, which I don't think has to do anything with the projection. I think it has to do with some dust or something going on that I need to kind of clear out, but it's just very slight on the side. But the crispness, the lumens and stuff have been great. It's been disappointing that it has fought me in kind of trying to connect a sound bar, and some of the Bluetooth stuff's been a little sketchy. But as a straight projector, and the speaker on it's actually quite good. So while I kind of prefer to have a sound bar attached, their speaker is good enough quality. Then it's it. So there's that. What's your brand?
I have a Nebula projector. You can get those on Amazon. There's a couple different models. They basically look like the first generation Echoes. It's like a black cylinder, and it's got the projector built in. There's a built-in speaker that honestly works really well. Tony and I used it to do a watch along when we were doing our reviews of the Halloween franchise.
Mm-hmm.
We did a watch along, and it was a huge mistake, by the way, doing that. That was our worst episode that we did. We apologized profusely during it because we decided to do Halloween H2O because it's not a great movie, and we were like, doing the watch along will be fun. That movie is garbage. It is way worse than we remembered because we'd each only really watched it when it first came out and kind of ignored it since then. it is way worse than either of us remembered it. So it was difficult to even just talk through it and have fun. But the speaker on it was fine. The two of us were able to hear it fine. We actually just threw a sheet up in here, but now that I have the projector screen, we'll have a much better experience for the next one. But I initially had hooked it up to speakers, to external speakers, and it was too loud. The microphone was just picking that up over us. So I had to stick with the actual internal speaker, which you can still kind of hear in the audio, even though we had the microphones pretty far away from it. So I haven't had any kind of issues with it. I'm not sure off the top of my head what the specs are as far as the lumens or anything like that. But like I said, most of the time it's a pretty well lit room and you can still see everything fine.
So interested on this. Is this one published? Is this out there?
The H2O one, yeah, that was an early episode, and
okay, I got to check that out.
We were like, we're sorry, this movie is terrible.
Okay. Was the logistics of that did you just film you guys, capture the video of you guys watching it, or did you actually have the movie running along too, where you could actually see what's happening in the movie and your reactions, or was it just your reactions to the movie?
Just audio? So we just took. So what we decided to do, we did, for anybody who doesn't know, we do a show where we talk about horror movies, and we reviewed the whole Halloween franchise. So we went movie by movie, and we kind of calmed down on that a little. We still do franchise, but we kind of split them up because it was a lot getting through the whole. And I think people were just sick of Halloween by the end of it, of hearing us talk about just that for so long. But what we did was we decided one of the movies we were going to do a watch along, sort of like a commentary track,
Sure.
where we watched the movie and talked through it, and you could watch along with us at home if you wanted to, kind of thing. So we let you know exactly when we were starting the movie, like, hey, hit play now. This is where the logo should be coming up, and we just went from there. But the movie was terrible, so it didn't work out the way we wanted just because of that. Technically, it worked out though. Like there were people who watched along and were able to keep up with it, and everything lined up correctly.
Cool. That's the show you made a really cool logo for, right? Right?
Pacman and Squawk Cobbler have really cool logos.
Yeah. It's just asking, seeing where you spend your energy. So anyway,
we should do a watch along.
Yes. So on that embittered note, I think we're going to wrap up this week. We'll be back again to talk more retro gaming and such if Mike can find the time. So thanks for watching, everybody.